Now, we've heard of many reports of spider aliens from various quarters, super soldiers, alien abduction experiencers, and a few of those would be, for instance, Carrie Cassidy said that she heard that the Vietnam War was a cover up for an interdimensional spider invasion in that area. And then there's some other interesting witnesses. Penny Bradley said that there were 15-foot spiders on Mars.
Most of my duties were air support for the war against the Raptors, which the Germans started. And I'd occasionally be sent to capture a mantid for intel. And they usually ended up getting me eaten by a spider. And the spiders on Mars are like 15 feet across.
And then we hear from other sources as well of spider aliens. For instance, Harold Kutzwala gives a lecture and talks about how somebody with Morgellons remote viewed the invasion in his body and he saw these alien creatures. Have a look.
And so the question is, what type of species is carried by the morphogenesis of these pseudomorphic mushrooms? Because it is not human. And the question is there a connection between the species and the thing that the Morgellon victims experience within themselves as crawling insects? And we were really lucky. We had the opportunity to work with one Morgellon victim that had remote viewing capacities and had the ability to visualize those creatures within his body. And luckily he was quite talented in painting. So I asked him to give me a few sketches. So he started to paint and he got better and better. And the last picture I got from him looked like this. So we have the spider form, but we have a quite highly developed face and a quite highly developed character. And he drew the eye in the middle, the one that is showing up in the morphogenesis of the mushroom, the pseudomorphic. If you look at these mushrooms, they're extracted from the lower intestines in a 28-day cycle. You have male and female forms, and you can find sexual organs that are male and female, and these sexual organs are spider-like. I think it's called bulbous, the kind of a bag containing the sperm of the spider. This is what you find within these mushrooms. But it doesn't look like mushroom from the cell structure. It looks like the step to the next generation is not fungus anymore. It's going in steps to a real spider generation. The second thing these spiders do when the fruiting bodies are extracted through the lower intestines, some of the patients have the feeling of having energy extracted from the forehead, pulsed streams of energy flowing into the lower intestines, and it feels like whatever is born down there is stealing light, is stealing energy from the human system.
In my school days, I was fascinated with the alien, and I even ended up writing a science fiction, mostly in my head, but I wrote some like concept pieces for it and drew some pictures for it. But when I saw the original Alien, it made me think that this would be a good alien to use for a sci-fi concept, but something that was actually sentient, not just kind of like more like an animal is what you see. I mean, it's a very highly intelligent animal, as we see from the movie series, but something that would be like, an intelligent, universe-conquering alien. And this was kind of like the type, because when I saw that, like the way it's all black and the elongated head and no eyes, the idea is that it came from the dark universe where there was no light, and they somehow broke into our universe, and they were so strong because they had evolved over millions of years to battle against other species in a much harsher domain of reality than our universe. So when they came into our universe, they just wiped everything out. All the technology and everything from our worlds couldn't stand up to it. All the various human species, all kinds of species were defeated and either flee out of the place or were destroyed. And then I came up with this idea that like a certain human faction from a planet much bigger than ours, but they were humans just like us in appearance, but they had a much higher level of technology, and they knew about the invading aliens, and they decided they weren't going to run, they were going to fight, and they built up this great big huge army. But what happened was there was a division because the army was split into the two sexes, the male and the female, and those two factions ended up having a big fight, and the male half wanted to go all out and just and attack them head on, but the female half wanted to stay behind, or no, they wanted to actually flee to give them more time to develop more power, more technology, more ships, whatever, to fight the aliens because they didn't feel that they were strong enough. So the male half of the army went to attack them and were mostly wiped out, except for a few, renegade survivors that got the heck out of there. What they developed was superhumans because they realized, just like our government has realized and the Russian government and all the other major governments have realized, that ultimately wars may be won by developing super beings, super of your race, of your nation, to fight the other super beings of the other possible enemy nations. So what they did was they developed ultimate leaders, and so the males developed theirs and the female developed theirs. But what they became for what I call the Etherians, because their home world was called Etheria, they developed like a king and a queen kind of, that were the heiress and heir to the throne of the Etherian kingdom. For whatever reason, they wanted to hide them on a certain low-grade planet, which you can guess is Earth, and then at a certain point they get activated so that they can take their place as the rulers of their respective armies, the Etherian army, even though now the male half of the army was mostly decimated, and all that was left was the female half that was fleeing in the other direction of the advancing dark horde, which, as I said, were kind of had I ripped off the idea of the appearance of the elongated head. So that was the idea that I had in high school for a science fiction, using the idea of the alien when I saw that concept from H.R. Giger. Well, it turns out, it's fascinating that it turns out it actually wasn't his concept. Of course, that could be from other things, given to him from the demonic realm or given to him from God or something else. But, I mean, he was given to be the artist, and he deserved the credit for what he did bring forward. But, I mean, for a servant of Satan, basically. And that's why he got all of his awards and accolades, because he did a beautiful job depicting what I think is the demonic realm. I'll get into more of that later. That concept was actually, if what Jimmy Payne says is true, was actually given, they gave him that, or maybe, who knows, maybe Satan had somebody else, give him that vision, another demon come and give him that vision so that he could create that alien in particular, using him as an artist for that creature.